Media Network.
Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome to Sobriety, Spirituality, and Sales. I believe this is episode 21. Thanks for hanging with us. My co-host Mike is off today. He had a late flight from Santa Barbara, so he will not be here. The show is brought to you. The only way the show exists is because Mike Bader, State Farm Agency, makes it happen. If you're looking for an insurance quote, please contact Mike or one of the ladies in his office. He is at First and River. And we are stoked to welcome, I was really excited for three Mikes again.
Yeah.
So it's just Mike and Mike today. Mike Bernal, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. You look fabulous, by the way.
Thanks. I
Yeah.
usually wear scrubs every day, so
Yeah.
nice break.
Gives you an opportunity to
Dress
get your
up a
Sunday
little bit.
best on there,
Yeah.
or Monday best, or Tuesday best, or whatever
day it is.
Yeah. So let's talk, man. What is, you've been into, we had coffee last week.
Yeah.
You've been in Tucson, I want to say 21 years?
Got
Is
here
that
in
2004?
2004.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you fell in love with Tucson.
So yeah, we had a business venture that we had started in Kansas City. I was in radio for a long time. That was my original first career out of school.
Advertising?
Out of advertising, worked for CBS Radio, worked for Intercom Radio, and got involved with a client actually for a business venture with that person, and it was dental practice management companies. Pretty cool concept, like cosmetic and sedation dentistry. Anyway, went pretty well in Kansas City, and we had like 5 practices up and running, and then we decided to move out here and started in Arizona. Actually, it's a longer story, which I won't get into, but we were trying to remove ourselves from involvement with the person that we were involved with in Kansas City, but saw Arizona as a really cool opportunity, and we came out for a 2-week dog and pony show. My wife and I, we were looking for investors. We had a couple dentists already on board that we were going to ramp up here, and we had some of our strategic partners too that we took with us. But we were here for like 2 weeks straight, and on day 3, we were sitting by the pool, ironically having a margarita on like
Love it.
the second day of
Yeah.
or whatever, day 2 or 3 of just going crazy here in Tucson, trying to get all this rolling. And it had been about a year and a half doing it back in KC, and there was some turmoil there. There was an intervention involved. There was a lot of other stuff going on, which kind of said we need to separate ourselves from that and try to do it elsewhere. But of course, we didn't know what we were doing. We were a little kooky. We came out here, and 3 days into it, we were like, we're tired. We're exhausted. We've lost a big chunk of money, and our lifestyle is not great because we're basically drinking here and there. We're smoking. We're just stressed nonstop. And this is year 1 of our marriage too.
Wow.
So
And this is 04.
this is in '04.
Okay.
Yeah. So while we were here having that margarita by the pool, it was simultaneous from God, whatever you want to call it. But we looked at each other. And we're like, I think I'm done. My wife said, I think we're done too. I don't think I want to do this and pursue this any further. So then we got a 2-week window here in Tucson, and we're like, well, what do we do now? We called our CFO and quit. And he was like, I'm surprised you guys lasted this long. Would have stayed with you for the journey, but I don't, I get it.
Yeah.
So, we got a 2-week vacation, basically just kind of hanging out here. Like, well, what do we do next? I figure I can go back into broadcasting when we get back to Kansas City, but we also hadn't had a break from that for a long time. So we're just like, let's enjoy it. Well, of course, it's March. It wasn't 102 degrees in that March, but
March is a good month to bring guests here because
Exactly.
they get a whole different view of what it's like.
So we were like, this is a beautiful place. Started to kind of make our way around. I had a good friend who was at Clear Channel Radio here.
Okay.
We worked together in Kansas City back in the day. And so I had one friend here. He reached out. He said, what are you guys doing here? It's cool that you're here. Let's get together and have dinner, whatever. And I said, well, here's what we did. Gave him that story. And he's like, that's interesting that you're just walking away from that? Yep, we are. We're done. There's always going to be a place to land. It'll be fine. He said, it's interesting that you should say that because we are looking for somebody to run one of the sales divisions of the radio station here for Clear Channel called Total Traffic. Total Traffic is literally the traffic reports. This traffic report is brought to you by blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
So that whole network there for the 7 Clear Channel stations basically had an opportunity to manage that piece of business. And frankly, nobody had really figured out how to do it right. So it was just kind of an area of the radio station where there was a lot of opportunity for revenue or business, but just didn't really go anywhere. So I interviewed for that job, and it was kind of the weirdest interview I've ever done because I was kind of like, I mean, I think my I don't know if I'm going to do this kind of came through, which is not what you want to signal in an interview, but it's kind of like, well, I don't really know if we're going to, what we're doing, but I'll check this job out. Well, they offered me the job. That's great. Casey, my wife, and I started hanging around Tucson for that 2 weeks, just enjoying the sights, doing Mount Lemmon, went to Sabino Canyon, hung out with that friend and some new friends that would ultimately become our friends here in Tucson. And we looked at houses just on a whim and met our real estate agent, who is still our real estate agent today, one of them, and bought a house. Told our friends and family back in Kansas City, they're like, how's it going out there? I was like, well, we quit. First couple of days, we quit what we were doing.
Was it still snowing in Kansas
It was
City
still,
back
yeah,
then?
it was still snowing. It is, it's probably, who knows? The KC weather is like, it
Yeah.
could be 80 and then it could be snowing. But we called our friends and family, told them that. They're like, what? What are you doing? It's like, well, yeah, we're going to move to Tucson anyway. So that's kind of nutty, but like that's where we were at the time. We didn't have any kids. We were newly married. We had just gone through that event, if you will. So yeah, that was the time when the market was pretty hot. So our house sold in like 30 minutes back in KC, and we packed it up and moved out here. So I went to work for Clear Channel, and I worked there for 5 years. I was still in radio for another 5 years here in Tucson, and then switched into medical device.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So if I heard you right, you kind of said that you went into the interview not ill prepared, but just
Right.
kind of like, not really sure if I even want to do this.
Exactly.
And
yeah, it was really
frankly,
weird.
that might have worked to your benefit, though, right?
I
Because
guess.
they're like, well, this guy, he's not all over us for this
Yeah.
job. Maybe we should give him the job. Maybe he is the man for the job.
There's probably like some level of transparency that you have when you just have clarity like that.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I'm sure we're going to end up talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like when you just kind of see all of the angles and you're just like, yeah, I mean, I'm not gunning for anything. I'm not desperate. I'm not, I'm checking this out. Truly checking this out.
There's
So,
a lot of power in that,
Yeah.
having that position. I
yeah,
think,
it was great. And it turned out to be a spectacular, gig and a spectacular group of people. It was really fun. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
So I'm interested, leading up to the decision to move, you kind of just touched on that. So you guys were kind of just grinding away out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now was that, do you think that I don't want to say anxiety, do you think that pressure was causing you to drink more? Or was that already, when you were young, it's just what we did at that age anyways?
I would say at that time, I know we're going to get there eventually when we start talking about this journey, but at that time, I wouldn't say that I necessarily had an issue or my wife had an issue. It's just that's what we were kind of turning to anyway in the evenings. But I think it accelerated later in my life, which we'll talk about. But no, I mean, what did we turn to in the evenings when we were trying to de-stress, right? Same thing that everybody does. We were drinking quite a bit of wine, beer, whatever it may be, and that was never good. But I can't say that it was. I want to put quotation marks around it. I can't say it was a problem necessarily at that point. I mean, we were younger, and of course, we're coming. I don't think I was 29 years old at the time, so it's like I think we were still in our 20s, or at least I was, for one more year. My wife had another 3 years to go, but. It's just that seemed normal at the time.
When I think in your 20s, it's easier to wake up the next day and do it all over.
Oh yeah,
again,
it's
right?
like I don't recall feeling the way that I would feel, 2 years ago
Yeah.
after a night of just having a little too much. Totally fine. You just keep rolling.
Well, let's back the bus up even further. I was just super interested to know. You told me a little bit about it, but what was your upbringing like in Kansas City?
Yeah.
What were you drawn to early on? How did you get into sales? I mean, you're an outgoing guy. We had a great coffee meetup, right? I mean, we couldn't talk enough, I think,
We could sit there for 2 more hours.
Yeah.
So KC native. My parents are actually divorced. They got divorced when I was like one. So grew up in an area of Kansas City called Waldo, and then a little bit in Westport as well. So there's 2 distinct areas there, but basically kind of midtown of Kansas City. So my dad was a cop at the time when I was younger. He he stayed in law enforcement for the rest of his career in a different agency or 2. And my mom had custody of me. So when they got divorced, I basically lived with her most of the time. But I did do that thing that kids get shuffled back and forth with, every other weekend with Pop, and 2 months in the summertime. Went to Catholic schools, Christ the King, in KC, and Waldo, and ended up going to a Jesuit preparatory school in Kansas City called Rockers too, which is a really awesome opportunity. I don't know what it was about me. When I was younger, but I somebody put it in my head, that school, that particular opportunity to go there, it does tend to open some doors, and it's a heck of an amazing education, And I remember thinking to myself in grade school that I would really love to go to Rockers, but Rockers is a private school. Rockers is an expensive school. Today, I can't even imagine that it actually costs more than college to go there. But I really had a drive to go there. So I tested okay. I got in. I needed a little help with my math. My stepdad, Doug, is an amazing math teacher, so he tutored me to help me get in there. So I made it, but of course, resource-wise, we had to do a little bit. So I was the kid that cleaned the toilets and the field house and all that stuff to go there with pride. I mean, I was super happy that I had the opportunity to do it.
Sure.
I know, judging from my physique, you would think that I am probably a huge sports guy. I'm not. So that school is also very sports oriented. So I wasn't
Yeah.
playing a sport. I didn't get a scholarship, but I got the work grant program thing.
That's amazing.
4 years of that school, just amazing school, all boys school, little distractions, and not as if I don't think I started puberty till age 18 anyway. But so it was a really cool experience. And then from there, I went to UMKC, which is basically the community university. It's tied to University of Missouri, but it's in KC.
Okay.
And I went there thinking I was going to go into law enforcement, like my dad. And shortly after about a year, my freshman year, I just decided, I don't think law enforcement is for me. No particular reason why. I just decided I don't think this is for me. So I changed gears, and I decided that I was going to be a major of something. So I thought business. I thought, what is out there? And frankly, when it became to be my junior year, or the beginning of my junior year, I said, well, what am I closest to? Because I'm paying for college myself, splitting it 3 ways with my parents, and had a couple scholarships that I just would find. Literally, there's money out there to be found for scholarships. So I just decided to talk to the counselor for the first time in 3 years at UMKC and say, hey, what should I do here? Because I'm not going to keep accruing. I don't want to accrue debt. I don't want to keep going. I want to be here for 10 years. And he's like, well, you're pretty close to a communication studies degree. Okay. And I like communications. I like media. I like movies. I like writing. And they had a spectacular program there, so I just jumped into it. And it happened to work out with the timeline where I graduated in 4.5 years with a comm studies degree. And in that process, when I was getting ready to graduate, like a good person who's kind of focused on what they're going to try to do with a career, because I was always like, I got to get somewhere. I've got to kind of keep moving up and keep making my way. I basically found a couple internships working at concerts, working at shows in Kansas City, and then I worked at the air show for a summer. And I kind of got the bug of the entertainment industry. So right after that, because of that network of people in that group, I ended up going to work for Sandstone Amphitheater, which is a big 18,000 seater in Kansas City, outdoor, and sold sponsorship packages and sold seating packages and kind of got to understand that world. And that's how I started working with media, because we had to interface with media people all the time in that job. Ended up taking a job at the radio station in sales, in what they called non-traditional revenue, which is like all the sponsorship stuff and stuff outside the realm of just selling the spots and the dots. Yeah. Back then, that was the vernacular back then. I don't know what we even call it today. But took that on, and ultimately that led me to another gig with Intercom in Kansas City, where I met that gentleman who became our business partner that did not work out. And that's how we made our way out here. So I've always been sales. I mean, I always tell my wife, and my mom always reminds me of the time in third grade when I sold the most carnival tickets for our Catholic school raffle ever in the school history in third grade. And they were like, we've never had anybody sell this many.
You got a plaque and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was fun. But yeah, that's just always been me. I mean, I like people. I like talking. I like connecting. I got to say that anything that I've ever done, I've been blessed and fortunate enough to say that, look, I believe in this thing that I'm doing, and I believe in this thing that I'm selling, and I think it's going to help you, and I'm talking to you like you're just anybody who I would be selling to, and that's kind of cool. I mean, I don't think I've ever run into anything in my entire career where I've been like, this is not what I think it is, and I got to get out of here. I've been fortunate like that.
But I think you would know pretty quickly if that was the case. I mean, for me in sales, there's been jobs offered, there's been stuff I tried, and I was like, I really can't get behind this. I don't believe in the product. As you know, as a great salesperson, you got to really believe in what you're doing.
Absolutely.
To give it your full max effort.
Yep.
And to put your heart and soul into it.
Yep. And that's every day, and I get to do that to this very day, which is phenomenal. And then going into sales in medical device, that was a huge switch. So as we moved here, and we lived here for 5 years, had great success with Total Traffic, by the way. That was a wonderful gig. It was awesome to take that division and just take it from the money is going to be, it's relevant, it's relevant no matter where you're at. But like we were doing like 40 grand, and by the time I left there, we were doing like $1.5 million in something that they never really realized was a division that could do that well. Did great in Phoenix, had a great mentor up there, told me how to do it. So I owe that to him.
Just to give the audience an idea, 1.5 million, what is your percentage on something like that?
Oh, and that in that gig, I was actually a salaried person.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, I just didn't matter what we did. It's just like perform and get it done. So
Okay.
negotiated that ahead of time, and it was very fruitful. So
Nice.
it was fine.
Okay.
But what happened in 2009, I actually, as you know, the radio industry changed a lot. I mean, that was the advent of Pandora, Sirius XM, all those other platforms were coming on, iPods, podcasts, all of that stuff was new. The industry started to basically gobble up smaller radio stations. We were already Clear Channel, so it's not as if we weren't a big company.
Right.
But it was changing, and I kind of felt it getting a little more "quote unquote" corporate than I would like. The fun was kind of not there like it used to be when you had like that smaller group, just kind of fun atmosphere all the time. And that's fine. That's businesses change and they evolve. But I started just wondering to myself, what else is out there? What are other people doing in sales? I like what I do. I'm ready to look at something else. And I have ADHD. I'm kind of impulsive. Kind of is not really a good description. Very impulsive. I made a phone call to a buddy in Kansas City who I had seen made a transition into medical device.
Yeah.
His name is Graham. Great guy. We're great friends to this day. We knew each other from radio back in KC. But I saw that he had made a career change. So I gave him a shout. And again, this is God. It's serendipitous, but it is definitely God throwing this in front of you, in front of me. Said, hey, I'm just calling to check in and see what are you doing? Like, what do you do today? And he goes, it's so weird, Bernal, that you would call me and ask me that question because I'm actually looking for a rep in Arizona to run the state. And I was like, awesome. And he goes, I would hire you in a heartbeat because I know what you do. I've seen what you're capable of, blah, 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 all good stuff. And I was like, well, dude, great. What is it that you do? I don't understand anything about what you do. I have no idea, no clue about that industry, not a stitch of information about it. He filled me in. Quite a divergence from what I was doing because it's a completely different environment. It's a completely different workspace. I mean, I'm going to go from being in the office and that kind of a basis all the way to just now I'm rolling around in a car. I have no paper or computer, and all I do is go and work with doctors and practices to sell this particular item. At that time, it was a capital equipment thing that tested for peripheral arterial disease. It just caught that early. But sounded good to me, and was a cool opportunity and a little bit of a risk, I guess, because just to leave everything I ever thought I was going to be with and finish with and do something completely different. But I took the leap, and it was phenomenal. And it was very scary at the beginning. I remember finding myself in a hotel room up in Scottsdale or something, and it was probably 2 or 3 weeks in, and I was sitting on the bed of the hotel, and I was actually having a panic attack. Like, what did I just do? Like, where am I? Like, I'm hanging out here. I'm talking to doctors, which at the time seemed just monumentally different to me at that time.
A little intimidating.
A little intimidating. And we're trying to sell this device, and I'm working with an entire new group of people, an entire new community of people. Didn't know a soul, and I had a panic attack. I was just sitting there. I was like, I don't know if this was the right move. And at that time, I was not praying about anything, I don't think. I can't recall that being a focus in my life. It really wasn't. So thankfully, God just kind of shepherded me, and I just kept staying and kept doing it, and it turned out phenomenal. So parlayed that gig into, I kind of give you like a structural kind of what I was thinking when I was in medical device. So I started with what they call capital, which is the big device equipment. That was a testing device that I was working with. I kind of saw that the trajectory should, if it can, and if I could do it, I would like to get into the operating room side of stuff. So actual device, like going into people's bodies, that type of thing, whether it be implants or ablation or whatever it is. So ended up making a connection to get over to a urology company that ironically sold, we did penile prostheses and we did vaginal mesh and slings. So those are not enhancements for people. Those are basically fixes for people. So especially everybody always joked about the penile implants. Like, oh, I gotta go. No, you don't want one of those.
Yeah.
It's,
if you get one of those, it's not a good thing.
It's
right?
not, yeah, if you're having that, you're not having a good time. Anyway, so I saw that piece of it, and I decided, like, okay, I like the OR side of this. Wasn't quite aware of how I was going to handle the blood part and all that, but got through that just fine without fainting the first time I saw a procedure, and took off with that gig and saw some of the other people in my industry making moves into what I would say were startup opportunities, or somewhere in the mid-range of it's already started up. We've had a couple rounds of funding, and now we're moving on, and we're growing the sales force. So I saw people peel off and go to those type of things. That was very inviting to me. Like I wanted to do that.
inviting because it was just new and challenging, or you recognize the ability to be able to maximize your earning potential, or both?
Both.
Okay.
I would say Med Device is a great place. There's great opportunity to make great money. I mean, it's a wonderful living, and it's hard. It's a grind. You bust your butt like it's crazy. But I saw that opportunity as for the startup piece, or somewhere in the middle there with smaller companies that had not been gobbled up yet. I said that would be a pretty cool place to be, because generally when you start that gig, and ironically, I got a call this morning about another one, which I passed to a great friend who I think it would be great for. But they come along, and you have the opportunity for equity in the company. It's not a lot. I mean, you're not going to end up being like one of the owners or the founders or anything like that. But it's nice to work for a organization when you've got skin in the game,
Right.
and you know that everything that you do is going to drive the value of those shares that you have. And some of these companies give you a pretty ridiculous amount of shares at the beginning. And I say ridiculous, meaning like it probably wasn't when they did it, but at the end of the day, it pays off quite well,
Sure.
especially if they have a good acquisition price or the IPO is high, whatever it may be. But that was alluring to me. So I did make that jump from kind of your commoditized device into something that was more startup. That was in an ENT space. So we did a drug-eluting stent for sinus surgery. That was the first thing I ever did in kind of the startup world. And then I kind of did what I would say I'd hang my hat on most of my career so far with UroLift. UroLift was for the enlarged prostate. So back into urology from the first time, break into ENT, back into urology. UroLift was something we launched, that company launched, and I'm screwed the year up. It was 2016 I started there. And got to take that thing basically in Tucson and El Paso and Las Vegas and New Mexico from start to finish. And it's not even finished yet. It's still out there today. I still think it's a great therapy. I'll probably get it. Probably shouldn't say it, but my dad and my stepdad got it. Sorry, guys. It's an amazing therapy, but got to launch it from start to finish and had phenomenal success. Awesome. The company got bought by Teleflex for like $1.5 billion. Got a nice payoff there, and still stayed with that company a little while longer. But that was probably a pinnacle of my career, I guess, when it comes to like a startup. And then I jumped into my own thing for a couple years here locally in Tucson. Had an industrial product that fought birds. For bird abatement, and stuck with that for a couple years. Didn't quite work out the way that I wanted it to, but the company still exists, so I just stepped away, and then immediately got recruited back into Med Device.
Nice.
With another company in urology that I stayed with for only a year. There's neuromodulation for people that have overactive bladder. That was a great device. As soon as I started there, they got bought by Boston for like $4 billion. So that was nice to get that kiss just jumping out in a company, but I didn't love that day-to-day on that gig. And then here we are today. So I am working for Boston Scientific again. It's kind of rare that I would join the big company. I kind of thought to myself I wouldn't ever really do that. But this product that we sell now is a nerve ablation product for low back pain. And it was just getting started when I got here, and we had a great guy up in Phoenix who opened some of the doctors down here in Tucson. But of course, they're so busy there, they brought on a person down here. That person is me. Again, kind of a new start. I have such an entrenchment inside of urology that switching to pain was a little bit difficult. My joke is I was the mayor of Urologyville, and now I'm like the janitor of Painville, because didn't know anybody, didn't have any connections, but the product is amazing, so that's all obviously helpful, and I really believe in it. Works great, and now we are just kind of hockey sticking it here and going straight up if we can, and just adding new doctors every day, and it's going great.
Man, I love the journey. I love the following your heart. And I would actually reframe the ADD piece to no, you make quick decisions.
Yeah,
You
I like
know,
that. I'm going to use that.
and I mean, I had a guy on a few weeks ago that talked about being just watching his surroundings, watching what's going on around you. And it sounds like that's what you were doing. You saw other people's having success in maybe a different industry, or saying, wait a minute, I think there's an
That's
opportunity
true.
that might serve me better. And, what I find funny is that you never were without employment,
Hmm.
regardless of what the economy is doing. Obviously, in that business, you're never going to be without it. But if you're really good with what you do, regardless of the industry, you're going to find employment, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
you've
true.
been a great
That's true.
salesperson everywhere you've been, obviously,
Yeah,
because you're getting calls. Hey, come here, do this with us. We know your track record.
yeah.
So pretty amazing stuff. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Mike after Mike's insurance commercial.
What matters most to you? Protecting your family, your home, your car, or planning for... What matters most to you? Protecting your family, your home, your car, or planning... State Farm makes it simple to protect what matters most. Agent Michael J. Bader is here in your community to guide you through every step, making sure you get the protection you need without the hassle. Whether it's auto, home, life, or business insurance, Michael J. Bader can... Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hey everybody, it's Chris.
Hey, it's David Samarano.
Hey guys, it's Clint Peak over here.
Hi, I'm Blair Lametti Mathias.
And I'm Summer Smeaton.
Hey, I'm Ron Arenas.
And I'm Will Pena.
Hey guys, I'm Mike Curry.
And I'm Mike Bader.
Hi there, I'm Bruce Ash.
Hi, Ed Wilkinson here.
Hi, this is Bob Elliott.
We are Live the Dream Media. Watch and listen to all of our shows Monday through Friday, only on the Live the Dream Media Network. Hey, you found us on your feed. Are you wondering what Live the Dream Media does? I'm going to explain it to you. Let's go. First and foremost, Live the Dream Media is a premier digital advertising and marketing agency, but that's not all we do. We have also become one of the largest live streaming podcast platforms in the region with our own online radio station and more on the way. Here's the coolest part. Right now, I'm standing in Studio B, where we are getting ready to put together an awesome state-of-the-art studio to continue the growth of this platform. One of the coolest things about Live the Dream Media is we take pride in being flexible. We enjoy the ability to make changes on the fly. If Live the Dream Media is a company you feel interested in working with and want to enjoy the flexibility and all we have to offer with our new podcasting network and our digital advertising abilities, reach out to us at contact@ltdmedia.net. Visit our website, livethedreammedia.com, or check us out on social media.
All right, guys, welcome back. For those of you just joining us, this is Sobriety, Spirituality, and Sales, episode number 21. Brought to you by Michael Bader, State Farm Agency, First and River. If you guys are looking for an insurance quote for automobile, for your home, for your RV, for your bus, whatever you got, please reach out to Mike at First and River. Some of the ladies in his office will definitely take care of you. I actually switched to him and I saved I got a check from Guild Mortgage for $1,700 back.
Nice.
Yeah, he lowered my rate really, really, really well. So welcome back, Mike. Thank you once again for being here. We've been talking about your success and your journey in business, in sales specifically. So why don't we switch gears?
Sure.
Spirituality and sobriety. So you went to Catholic school.
Yes.
Did you grow up Catholic, or that was just happenstance? And
Grew up very Catholic.
okay,
Yeah. So from as far as I can remember, back as I can remember, always Catholic. Yep. Did all of the sacraments, did everything all the way up through confirmation. And then when I went to high school, it was a Jesuit preparatory school, so I don't think I departed any time through that process. When I got to college, things changed, and I hear that so often. People go to college, and it's kind of like your eyes are open to different things. You're around different influences. You're influenced by where you're at and what school you're going to and what you're being taught.
right.
I at some point there, I can't even tell you, it was maybe year 2, year 3. I completely departed from any relationship with God and religion, and all of that stuff to me became like, I don't want to do any of that. Like I'm just not, to the point where I actually started looking into, I became a secular humanist. I mean, I actually started saying that out loud to people, like, I've decided I'm going to be a secular humanist.
What is that?
I don't know. I don't know that I knew then. I mean, it's secular, so it's like secular is secular, right?
Yeah,
like there's
yeah.
no, we're not
I thought
talking
it was
about any
like
kind of
some
faith.
organization or
No, dude. It's like an actual, just a way of being, and I'm
Yeah.
probably screwing that up. But
Yeah.
you know, a friend, one of my fraternity brothers was that way,
Yeah.
and like he kind of helped me understand it better. And I was like, I kind of like the sound of that.
Yeah.
So I started saying, I'm a secular humanist.
Yeah.
Which again, it's basically just like I would call it agnostic on steroids, because you're just really focused on how awesome humans are and how able we are to do things.
Right.
And which is all from God now. We know that. I know that now, but it's like, yeah, we're spectacular.
Yeah.
So I'm a secular humanist. So I just completely departed from any kind of faith. I did get married right after college to somebody. I'm not married to that person anymore. Okay. It was a college girlfriend that we were together for quite a while, and I got married in a sect of the Mormon church called the Heterokite. Didn't know anything about it. Frankly didn't care. I mean, it's just like, well, I'm just marrying this person, and the environment doesn't really make any difference to me because I'm just not really into God or faith. And that marriage only lasted for a couple of years. I was still a young guy. You know, I think I was 24 when I got divorced. So in radio at that time, back into that, and I met my current wife in the radio station while I was actually still married. That was not the reason I got unmarried. She wasn't related to that, but I met her when I was still married at the radio station. And then when I'm fast forwarding through things, but like when I got in a relationship with my current wife, Casey, we weren't really focused on any type of faith. We didn't really, I'm just going to say, we probably just didn't really care. Like, it just wasn't a thing for us. Even though she was raised Lutheran, I was raised Catholic, I had walked away and kind of fully walked away and embraced the whole I just don't know thing. I'm not going to focus on that. And we got married. We obviously did the business venture, brought us out here. And it wasn't until 2015, I had my brother passed away in a car accident. And my brother, Nathaniel, we called him Bubba, amazing guy, super amazing guy. I'm trying to get emotional here, but super amazing guy. A lot of trouble early on as a kid, just kind of some struggles. It wouldn't be a secret to say it out loud, and he has passed away, but you know, he did have some abuse from a teacher when he was a young kid. I don't know if that drove his behavior, but he was out there. He lived large, he lived fast. He drank, he partied, but an amazing guy at the same time. Sorry, I keep banging the table.
You're good.
But when he was 29 years old, it was funny to see his life trajectory. When we moved away from Kansas City to Tucson, he was actually on the news in Kansas City. It was called Teenage Terror. Like it was I remember seeing the crawl go across the screen for that story. And it was essentially he was involved in an accident where he ran into a cop and there was an altercation and he was drinking. And we got to see that on television before we moved here to Tucson.
Wow.
Fast forward to later, much later, another 10 years or so, he cleaned up his act. He got off anything, illicit drugs, for instance. He did keep drinking, but it was not to the level and it was not at the rate like he was. Became a pipe fitter. The guy was just insane smart. Like he was the kind of kid that my dad wanted to drag him to a math competition when he was a sophomore or junior in high school, and he just refused. I'm not going to that. I'm not going. Basically, F you. I'm not going to that. And I hope I'm telling that story right, Pop, if you're listening. But
real quick, older brother or younger brother?
This is young. Yeah, I didn't even set any of that up. Yeah, I've got 5 younger brothers, now 4, but I had 5 younger brothers. They're all half brothers. Both my parents, when they got divorced, it was probably a decade went by and they got remarried and both had more kids. So I've got 5 younger brothers. One has passed away, and I've got a younger sister who's 21 years younger than me. So anyway, going back to Nathaniel, Bubba, to really turn it around, that math competition I'm talking about, he's that guy where I'm not going to that, Pop, just not going. Goes anyway, wins the whole thing. And I am probably messing that story up, but it is something at that level where like he took home one of the prizes or the awards or came in first. It's like, and he just was like mailing it in like that. His brain was amazing. So again, fast forward, he became a pipe fitter. He was going through that apprentice piece of his career, kicking butt, number 1 in the class, mathematical genius, takes a lot of math to be a really good welder. I didn't really understand that. Oh. And he was playing softball and staying active in sports, crazy sports. He was an MMA fighter for a while, just like my other 2 brothers have done that stuff. But really had turned his life around. I mean, and also had a lot of faith in Christ. So I left that part out. I didn't mean to leave that out. But somewhere along the line, had given his life to Christ, and that was a huge turnaround for him. I should mention that first, but like somewhere in that time frame of 10 to 15 years, from the time we left KC to basically 2015. Awesome to see him make that turnaround. Life for him was going well and better than it ever had, and he played softball one night and got in a single car accident on the way home. And I don't know if he was, he probably had a couple beers, but I don't think that was it. I think he was exhausted because he was getting up every morning at 3 o'clock and going to work and then was playing softball in the evenings. Got into an accident wear your seatbelt.
Yeah.
Went through the windshield and he passed away. So
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, but and now we'll get into again what was the driver for us. We didn't really have any faith or anything at that point. We had my younger sister, who I mentioned, who was 21 years younger than me, living at our house for her freshman year of college. She came out to Tucson. We offered her an opportunity. Hey, why do you want to come out here, live here, and do your first year in college, and maybe go to U of A? So she was going to Pima to get her residency set up and go. The agreement we made with her parents, my dad and my stepmom, before she moved out here was like, we have to go to church. If Sarah, my sister, is going to come out and live with you guys for a year, there's going to be these rules for her, and then there's also going to be a rule. We want to make sure that you guys are attending a church, because faith is a big part in that family. My stepmom specifically, I'll get into that a little bit, because it was her faith that really drove our testimony in the first place, and just all of this in that situation with Bubba dying. But that's when we started going to Calvary here in Tucson, because it's like, well, we have to go because Sarah's here, and that's fine. And we had kids, so we were also like, we probably need to figure out what we're going to do for our kids, because we're going to play the role. Really, I put it like that, like we ought to do something with church. We ought to get these kids exposed to something, some kind of faith.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah, and it's like that was a driver, because it's like, well, they needed. I was Catholic, and of course I'm not Catholic anymore, but I had something, and we figured, well, they got to have something. The driver of Sarah being here and our parents saying, you got to do this also. So that's where we started getting exposure to it. And when Bubba passed, Sarah was living there. I'll never forget that evening when he died, because it was 2:00 in the morning. My brother Josh called me to tell me that this had happened, and that him and my dad were coming back from a camping trip that they were going on, a men's camping trip at the church that they were doing, to tell me that Bubba had passed away. It was a mess. It was a nightmare, as you can imagine. We went to Kansas City for the funeral. I'm fast forwarding a lot, but went to the funeral. I've never seen more people at a funeral. I mean, Bubba was well loved, and so many people. Like, the line was out the door. All of our friends, all of our family, everybody. So many people we didn't know but knew him and loved him. In that event, I watched my stepmom, who, her name is Stephanie. She has had strong Christian faith since I was since I was a child. Back when they lived in Georgia, and I would visit for the summers. That's when she found her relationship. She has always been very highly involved and in a deep relationship with Christ. I never understood it. I never got it. Frankly, I kind of thought it was a little weird. I think a lot of people they probably think I'm weird now, the way that I talk about things. That's the same way I thought of that too. Yeah. But when Bubba died, and we saw the way that my stepmom Stephanie was handling that entire event, unbelievable. Grace, just grace under so much turmoil and depression and sadness. And I'm going to get sad here, but she was comforting other people. Like, I just didn't understand where that power was coming from. Where was that strength coming from? I couldn't understand it. I couldn't get it. But then I did get it. I mean, that it was very clear to me what was driving that behavior from her, and what was driving her, just the way she was interacting with everybody else. I mean, people are falling apart in that line when they would get up to greet. I mean, just falling apart. Some of my friends too from childhood, Marcel. I mean, it's just, if you've lost somebody, that nightmare of just watching that whole thing. She was just a beacon of strength, and just was there supporting other people. And like, this is her son. I just didn't know how she was doing it, but then I did realize how she was doing it and where it was coming from and where that strength was from.
Wow.
And that's it. It wasn't much longer after that. I think as maybe a month went by, we went back to Tucson. We're all still kind of recovering because we're all shell-shocked from what just happened. We went to Calvary on a Sunday, or it was a Sunday morning. And Pastor Furrow wasn't as doing altar calls as often as he does now. I think we do one every week now. And it was kind of maybe once every month or every other couple weeks back then. And he happened to do one that day that we were back in church. And we had just gone through all this. We just got back. I just witnessed what I'd witnessed, and I just felt the calling. The eyes were closed, and my hand went up. I didn't know it at the moment, but Casey's hand went up. We kind of looked over like, did you just? Yeah, I did too.
That's incredible.
And that's it. That was the day. And ever since then, did we get it right out of the gate? No. I mean, we fell on our faces, and we'll talk more about kind of, I obviously didn't give up my bad habits. Right. I wasn't sober. And in fact, in that time frame, overlaid with me being a medical device for quite a few years now at this point, where my drinking had actually gotten, I'm not saying out of control, because I was functioning and I was doing great and I was still kicking ass and making great dough and winning the awards and all that. But I was medicating and trying to numb everything at night. And so that kind of fell alongside of that thing. But I didn't get rid of that habit until much later. But that was the moment we got saved.
It's really interesting. First of all, I'm sorry about your brother.
Thank you.
I can tell it affects you to this day. But the outcome of you being saved, you and your wife being saved, and coming to a relationship with God, may not have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
Yeah.
So indirectly, bad things had happened to us, and maybe this is where your stepmom had the strength, and the strength comes from above,
mm-hmm.
right? We're just the vessel.
Yes.
But in my experience, the bad things that I've had to deal with, there's always some good outcome that comes out of it.
Yeah.
And when you've been through those things, it's easier to muster the strength. It's easier to show up for other people and comfort other people. And now you're on this side of this. I mean, gosh, you're telling me you're speaking life into doctors that are maybe struggling in their personal life, that you're able to, develop relationships with, and other people in your community and your church. And just what a blessing for you guys and your children.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, now that we have embraced it. I mean, that was 2015, and it's 2026 now. I got to say that it's been a journey, but it is something now that I am so happy and blessed and fortunate to know that I am here, and I couldn't be happier to talk about it. I mean, that's the thing. I think for a while at the beginning, and I know I'm not alone on this. You first give your life to Christ, and you say, "Well, now what do I do? What do we do with this?" And then you want to talk about it. I remember doing that. Right, it was shortly thereafter that Bubba passed, and we raised our hands. And I was at a sales meeting in Denver, and I was a new Christian, right? And I was excited to talk about it, and I knew nothing about not a thing, And I still, I'm still learning.
Sure.
You could study the Bible for 100 years and still never really get all the nuances and all the connections. I mean, it'd take you forever, to be a scholar. I knew nothing, and I remember trying to go to this a dinner event where
you know nothing, but you feel something,
right? I felt something.
Yeah,
I want to talk about it. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about, but I'm going to do it. But over drinks and cocktail hour and then a dinner, I proceed to, this is the other thing I would do often, is get a little too drunk and talk about my Christianity and my faith and how great it is. But I'm just shit-faced, excuse my language.
No, you're good. We allow cussing.
But that was not the right way to do it, but it was what I was doing at the time. So I remember going to that dinner and just trying to explain where I was coming from and hearing myself talk in my own head. I'm like, I'm not making any sense to this person. Like they have no idea where I'm talking about. So I just was like, well, if you're going to talk to somebody but who's inquiring with you why you did it, it's like I had my testimony at the time. I had my brother's story, which I just told you, and that's what I could hang on to, and that's what I had.
That's what's relatable, and that's what people can connect with.
Yeah.
If I go recite verses to somebody, do you think that's going to really make a difference?
No, and that too. It's like I've had recent conversations with family members who are, I would say diametrically opposed to my positions on things, whether it be faith or politics or whatever. And it's like trying to bring any type of faith-based legitimacy to things by you can't quote the Bible verses to people that don't want to hear it. It's kind of like, can you cast the pearls to swine? It's like, sure, nobody cares about that. And in fact, it's off-putting.
Yeah.
It's like, don't give me the Bible verses. I don't want to hear about that.
Yeah.
Like those are unicorns and mythological stuff. Like I don't believe any of that. So doesn't help. As I've gotten older and more adept at learning, and I'm always learning, I still can't pull verses out of the air, but now when I hear them for like a decade of just hearing them and a lot of study, it's like, I know that one. At least I can paraphrase it, or I can at least relate it to something that's going on. So that's really cool. But I mean, I went down a rabbit hole, but at the same time, it's kind of like you start out, you don't know, and it's just a big explosion of like, I want to tell everybody, but I don't really know what I want to tell them. Yes. And to the point here we are today where it's like I'm on a podcast talking about this. I mean, this was kind of a big deal. I've been nervous to even come and talk to you because it's like, man, I've really never put myself out there like this and talked publicly about my testimony and my relationship with Christ and all of that. And it's really cool. And I have no fear. I'm very confident about it, and I love it. So thank you, by the way.
No, thank you. The, the authenticity, the, this is what it is. We're not sugarcoating it. This is what it's been. That's what people need to hear. Talking to people in my last sales job, I would talk to all my customers, whether they bought a car or not, about my recovery journey. And sometimes I probably overshared, but, I could guarantee you they walk away with a different perspective on addiction or on alcoholism or the relationship they have with somebody who is in that battle now.
Yeah.
And it gives them renewed hope. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So real quick, going back to your sales job, you saw yourself maybe going a little too heavy at night on the alcohol.
Yep.
If you look back on it, why was that? I mean, if you had this massive success, I mean, what was it? Was it a looming feeling of, well, what else is out there? I've already accomplished all this stuff. Is there something else that
I think it was, first of all, I'm going to say that there's a lot for the gigs that I have been in and the jobs and a lot of these medical device jobs. Specifically, I live in Tucson, so that's what they call, it's most often an expansion market because all the Phoenix people get hired and then it's like, oh, now Tucson's got some business, we're going to put somebody down there. But honestly, when you get somebody in Tucson, they're probably going to end up having El Paso in their territory, maybe New Mexico. I had Las Vegas for a while. At one point, I had Yuma. A lot of windshield time, a lot of time on the road, a lot of time alone. And I think that was where I started to go south as far as just kind of okay, I've got all this time to myself on the road. I'm obviously a social guy. I like talking to people. I was the guy that, okay, I'm done with work at 3 or 5 or 6, or I had a dinner and I've already had a couple cocktails on board from dinner. What do we do now? I guess I go to the hotel where I'm staying and I have a nightcap. I loved having a nightcap because it was, a nightcap for me was let's have 3 more, old fashions and then pass out. Yeah. But a nightcap at the hotel, let's talk to the other fellow guests that are also probably doing the same thing I'm doing. And then, before you know it, every night I'm up till somewhere between 10:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning hanging out and having to go to work the next day. And I'm talking about work in the OR, where that's not a place to be hungover. It's not a place you have to focus. So I would say it wasn't like I got crazy ripped up every night, but I definitely would have a bottle of wine a night, I would think, for many, many years.
So if it affected your performance the next day?
I'm sure
to
it
a
did.
certain extent.
Of course it did. Yeah, of course it did. I could tell you today without drinking for 2 years now almost, it's my clarity and my energy level, and heck, I never used to work out in the mornings. Now I only work out in the mornings because I don't wake up feeling like shit every morning going, I can't do that right now. I'll sweat it out this afternoon after I plow through all this stuff I got to do today. But that's really what it became. It just became this habit of being on the road and being social and hanging out. And then, of course, we go to our sales events and our big meetings where you see these folks that you don't see but 4 times a year because you don't. We all work remotely. You don't physically see anybody in person for most of your career.
And those are usually in places like Las Vegas. Or Orlando, or some nice vacation
Scottsdale,
spot, right?
Yeah, we'll probably talk about that, but the last time I really poured it on was in Scottsdale at a meeting. And that's it's a fun time. You get to party with everybody, but at the same time, it's man, it's 3 days of just nonstop brain activity all day from 7 in the morning until 6 at night, and then it's time to turn on the cocktails, and it's it just gets old. And then when you're doing that on your own too, because it's man, drinking was my entertainment. When I was by myself alone, talk to my family early in the night, and then forget to call them later because I've just sat there by myself going, what else am I going to do? I'm going to just plow through this bottle of wine and maybe do some emails, and before you know it, I'm going to bed drunk.
Was it a thought of, hey, I deserve this? I've put in, like you said, I put in a long day. My brain's been going on overdrive all day.
Yep.
I deserve to knock off a little.
Yeah, and I'm anxious by nature. I have anxiety. Come to learn that it's an actual thing.
I learned a new term recently. Somebody told me about hangxiety.
Hangxiety.
Did you ever have that in the morning?
Absolutely.
Was that you that told me that?
It might have been me. Yes, I definitely had hangxiety because it's you get up and you're like, why did I do that last night? And now I've got to be double productive or triple productive today because I've got to make up for the mistakes that I made. Yeah, because it's it's almost like just a penance or just a self-punishment. I've got to go super hard today and get it all done. And then by the end of that day, guess what it's time for? Another cocktail. It's I've done it. I did what I was supposed to do. Wow, got it done. So what am I going to do? I'm going to turn around and do the exact same thing again and then feel like absolute garbage the next day and do it again. So just a vicious cycle. We all know it. Those are vicious cycles. And my thing was always alcohol. I didn't ever go into anything else. It just was but it was always there, and it's very socially acceptable, of course, and people promote it. And it's part of things.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, in your industry, you know, that's how you schmooze customers, doctors,
That's true.
et cetera, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you take them out to the nicest restaurants and, you know, take them out and have a nice drink. And I mean, we discussed this, but was it once you made a decision to stop, and you did, leading up to that first going out dinner, were you nervous? Were you like, I don't know what these guys are going to think when I say I'm not drinking tonight? Or
Yeah.
were you comfortable with that decision?
I was comfortable with the decision because I knew I wasn't going to go back on the decision, but I was not comfortable with the way I felt about. I had a lot of anxiety about. Here's all these people that I've known and that I've partied with for years, because there's a lot of people in industry that recycle and go through the. You know, we're at this. Oh, I saw you. You're at this new company. I'm at that company. Or I met. There's a guy that I know that I love very much. Good friend. I've been with him at 2 different companies. Then I ran into him at another event in Vegas because he's in the lobby. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm in pain now. I'm like, oh my gosh, like we run into each other all the time. People we used to party with. But when I had stopped, the very first thing I went to, I think we talked about this when we had coffee, I took a doctor friend, who is a friend, but he was a doctor, to a training at our headquarters for this company called Exonics. And that night, you know, that event starts off with cocktails and then a training deal and then more cocktails and a dinner. And then everybody tends to go out and party, you know, because we're in California. It's beautiful weather. On the way out there, we sat down on the rooftop deck with my friend, who is a friend now, Dr. Bill, and he's known me for years. He's seen me get absolutely shit-faced. He doesn't drink that way. He's actually, we talked about this. He's Asian, and he actually has that thing where if he has too much alcohol, it's not good for him.
Isn't that funny?
Yes.
He actually has a legitimate allergy.
Yeah, he has a real reason not to do it. So, like, he never gets torn up like that. And we've only been out a few times, and I've embarrassed myself in front of him. Or you know, everybody always tends to say, "Oh, you weren't that bad," and I didn't even know. But like, yeah, I've done that.
Well, it's because they're doing the same thing you're doing.
Of course. I'm pretty good at being really drunk and nobody knowing either, even though I'm probably blacked out.
Wow.
But I remember we were in the rooftop deck, and I went up there and I ordered a non-alcoholic something, like a Heineken Zero or something. And he's like, "Oh, you're not? What's that about?" And hey, dude, I said, I just gave up drinking. I stopped. When? Like 2 weeks ago. Okay. He goes, why? So I explained, and we can talk about that too. But like it was kind of an innocuous event, but it was just another party night at a company event, ironically, where I was just like, I've had enough of this, and I don't want to do this anymore. So I'd given it up like 2 weeks ago, or when I was up there on that rooftop. And this is the very first night of what's going to probably be 2 nights of a lot of my peers and friends and coworkers, whatever, partying after we're done getting business done. And I remember it distinctly. He was like, I told him why. I told him what happened, and I said, I'm just done. And he's like, I'm so proud of you. And that was kind of the first affirmation I got in all of that. Like, he just said, I'm very proud of you. That is amazing. That's awesome. And it's not that I didn't expect it from him, because I don't think, our relationship wasn't built on partying all the time. Like, it wasn't like, that's what held us together. Yeah. But he said that, and I just, that gave me so much inspiration, just coming from a friend and a doctor that was my customer. That kind of gave me the strength to just, I started putting it out there, like you and I talked about like this. It's like I can kind of operate in the shadows, I guess, and have things that look like alcohol. I mean, I thought about that. Everybody's done that too. Like, I'm not going to drink, so I'm going to have a Sprite in a small glass, and people think I'm drinking, so they don't ask me. I just kept ordering the Heineken Zeros in front of everybody for the next 3 days, and a lot of questions. Bernal, why? You're not drinking? Like, and that's also not good when you hear somebody, you're not drinking anymore? You?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not. And then it's just way easier to be confident and come out and just say why. And I haven't, nobody was like, well, that's dumb. I've had a couple people say, well, I don't think you should do that, or, and that's rare, But for the most part, everybody's very supportive and cool. And then you do get that weird thing of like, oh, I know you don't drink anymore. Or like, what do we,
Yeah.
There's a comedian that talks about that. We got wine and beer and whiskey. And I mean, would you like some salmon?
Yeah.
Because I know you don't drink. I was like, would you like some Dots ice cream?
And I think we could agree. Neither one of us want to be that guy that goes to a party or an event and people start backing away from us. Like, I'm not inherently against alcohol.
No, me neither.
I just know for me, and what you've described is it didn't work for us anymore.
Right.
Simple.
I'm done.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's super interesting. And you got this affirmation from him, and you got somebody that really said, hey, I'm proud of you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you wear it like a badge, because like we discussed, for me going into my sales job, I wanted everybody to know. Because if they didn't know, I'm one of those people, I'll hide stuff. I'll start plotting in my head. Next thing you know, I'm doing these little things that are going against my new life that I've created. If everybody knows, then they're not going to ask me to go to the bar.
Right.
Then I can't go and hide something and do something that, so for me, that was a way of outing myself and owning it. And, you know, I never want to make people feel uncomfortable.
Right.
They're going to do that to themselves
Sure.
if they're in a position where, you know, they know they're doing something that they shouldn't be.
Yeah. And I, you know, the company that I'm with now, like that was a whole new group of people I mentioned. It was a whole new community of doctors, whole new community of peers. It started with that company when I was a year in, and that's been pretty cool because like I start the relationship with all these people, this entire new community of let's call it 200 to 300 new people that you're interacting with that you've never met. And they only know this Mike. You know, they don't know the party Mike. And I'm a good time. I'm funny. I enjoy hanging out. I'm no different. In fact, I'm sharper than I used to be because I don't need the alcohol to be.
You can actually tell the whole joke.
Right.
Now.
Like, what was I saying? No. But yeah, it's amazing. So like now I do wear it like a badge. It's kind of like, you know, it's not like they put it in your face and I'm better.
Well, and that's how we met,
not
the sobriety group, right?
Yeah.
You posted, you had a year or whatever it was in
and
sobriety
so
group.
I told you that too. Like I didn't realize, so I'm on that sobriety and motivation. I think that's the page,
Yeah.
and I just happened to find it because once you start saying this, you know, how Facebook works. It's like now I'm getting ads and things. Join this, join that. So I said something at my 450-day mark, and I honestly thought I was just posting inside that group. And suddenly I'm getting people liking that comment that are my friends. So apparently, I'm not a boomer, but I wasn't understanding that Facebook, all of my friends could see that I posted that too. Yeah. So I guess I'm out. You know, I didn't really talk about it to anybody. I've told some of my close childhood friends on a trip recently to Nashville. I showed up there in Nashville. And I was like, hey guys, I don't drink anymore. And of course it went over great. You know, my friends and they're spectacular people and nobody gave me any shit. It wasn't a problem, but it was kind of awkward. Like, I know we're here to party. I won't be drinking, but I'm still going to party. You know, I'm still going to have a great time. Yeah. But anyway, it's just good to be out there with it. I mean, I have no fear about it anymore. I don't have any reservations about it. It's obviously it's empowering. It's wonderful, glory to God, just to say that I'm out there now and doing it. I lost my train of thought, but that happens to me all the time. I was going somewhere with that.
During coffee, that happened about 8 times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, glorifying God.
Yeah.
You know, the power of God working in your life.
Yep.
You know, your wife's life, you know, your children are probably much happier nowadays. They're
they
fully
are.
present parents, right?
Yes.
So if you had any advice for a listener who is struggling with addiction, who is struggling with alcoholism, who is struggling with wondering, do they have a problem or not? But they see the house is burning down while they're in it, right? Like what advice would you have for somebody that may not recognize the problem fully yet?
You know what? I think we all know. We all know when we have a problem. I mean, you know something's wrong. I think the bigger part of us doesn't want to say that there's something wrong. There's so much pride involved in at least for me there was, in letting this go. There was so much fear and anxiety about what does it mean if I'm not that guy anymore? How will my friends talk to me? What will I do at work? How can I take these docs out at night and get to know them like I like to, where we have a couple cocktails in us and you know, things get loose and we can talk and become buddies. How's all this going to work? Like, I don't even know. And that's the thing. You ask, like, what's the advice? It's like, number one, if you think you have, if you think, or you have an inkling that you have something going on, you do. I mean, I that was at least for me. I mean, it was always there. Like, you're going to do that again, you're going to overdo it, and then you wake up with the anxiety. It's like that was always there, but I did not want to let it go. I was not going to admit it. I wasn't going to face it. I was just going to be that guy. We all tell ourselves, I'll just back it down a little bit. I'll just drink on the weekends.
Now, is it easier to do that because of the level of success that you were having and that you had, do you think? Or
I don't think I ever succeeded at it. I tried.
I'm sorry, material success in life. I mean, like you crushed it in business the whole time.
Yeah.
Right?
That never stopped.
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder, like, how much more successful I could have been if I was operating on all 6 cylinders all the time, you know, because most of the time I would say I was 5, you know, till the afternoon. Then I'd have me back, only to start it again. But I don't know. If you think you have an issue, you feel like you do, you probably do. And I think I never went to AA. I didn't do any of that. And I know it's helpful for a ton of people, and I am not naysaying that one bit. I just wasn't something I needed, I guess, or didn't work for me. Yeah. But I know the first issue is like you have to admit, you know, you have to acknowledge that, okay, this is happening and I'm doing this. I have to change this. So I would say, I don't know. I jump headfirst in everything that I do, which is a detriment sometimes, but it served me pretty well most of the time. So I jumped headfirst into this too. So I mean that's what did it. I'm just like, I am going to be done. I'm going to tell everybody. I'm going to stop. I'm going to be an advocate for anybody that I run into. I'm going to seek people out that have done the same thing and try to build some community with them. Try to understand how they did it. What were their struggles? Join those Facebook groups. Whatever.
Yeah. Community. That's huge. Huh?
Yeah, because what are we talking about? We're talking about the exact same thing that we talked about when we had coffee, and it's all similar. We all kind of have an underlying similar story of how we got there, and then why we decided we weren't going to do this anymore. Some people's details are way more rough than mine ever were. But
The
everybody's got a bottom.
similarities are how we feel about ourselves.
Absolutely.
At the end, right?
Absolutely.
That is 100% across the board.
Yeah.
Regardless of my rock bottoms. I think I shared this with
Yeah.
you. Weren't enough for me to change.
Right.
What was? Well, I felt so desperate and I felt so ashamed of myself that I was finally ready to make that decision.
Yeah.
I
I saw something on, somebody posted on Facebook. It was one of those opportunities, I think on Sobriety or Motivation, one of those pages where, I'll jump on that and I'll always try to say something encouraging to folks because it's, that's me. I see that. I've got similarity there. I feel community with that, with those people. And I always try to chime in and say something cool and encouraging. And somebody said, do I have to hit rock bottom to stop this problem of mine? Does everybody have to hit rock bottom? This is a legitimate question the person had. And I liked what somebody else chimed in and said, look, rock bottom is just where you stop digging. It's just where you stop digging. Like your rock bottom may not be my rock bottom. I mean, I would say my rock bottom came at that event where I was just kind of like looking around and I just had clarity. And I was like, why am I here? Why am I doing this again at 1 o'clock in the morning at a corporate event with my peers where I'm drunk as shit at 2 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning and looking around at my surroundings going, I can't do this anymore.
I'd say that's a spiritual experience because the way it's defined in the Alcoholics Anonymous book is just a shift in perception.
Yeah.
So you just had a shift in your perception and you finally woke up, so to speak, right? And we're like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And I felt that way about myself. So,
Yeah.
dude, thank you so much. This has
You're
been
welcome.
amazing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Incredible insight into your recovery and hopefully you will have a wonderful day.
All right, you too.
will get some more business from these doctors. Hopefully they're listening. And
or they're just like, I'm not working with that guy anymore.
No. I think it'll benefit you, man. The
I'm just
universe
kidding.
works in mysterious ways.
Yes, it does.
And God is good. So thank you so
sir.
much.
All right. God bless.
God bless.
Thank you.